Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday meditation gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. This week we have JaneTipping and Paul Goudsmit who will lead us in meditation. Then we'll have 20 minutes of silence, and after that we'll hand it over for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Jane and Paul.
Okay, well, again, I'm delighted to be here and to have this opportunity to do this because we've had to think about this for a couple of days.
Yeah.
This 20-minute silent meditation, which seems like a contradiction in terms, but nonetheless, we've come up with a lesson and a section from the course that I think combined together, I think can make this an exceptionally rich meditation. I don't know about you, but I always thought that the purpose of meditation was to turn off the inner dialogue, the chatter that goes on inside my head. And I must admit to you that after more than 50 years of studying and attempting many different meditations, that's yet to occur. Like once even. So I thought, if that's going to happen anyway, why not use it as part of the meditation? And so again, we have two ideas. This one comes from the lesson.
Right.
I'll do
this part.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to start with a statement that's the truth about us, and then we're going to bring in an idea for you to think about during your meditation. So the section I'm going to read is just after lesson 350, and it's called What Am I? And I'm only going to read the first paragraph. What am I? I am God's child, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of his love. In me is his creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am the holy home of God himself. I am the heaven where his love resides. I am his holy sinlessness itself, for in my purity abides his own.
And I think that that's the closest description to the state of the holy instant or heaven that the course has. The description of what I am is what am I is I think profound, sublime, and incredibly powerful. Thank you. And that's the truth. This is the truth of what we are. Now, here's the second idea for today. This comes from the text, and it's called The Hero of the Dream. And I'm sure you've heard this before, that into eternity, where all is one, crept a tiny, mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting, did the thought become a serious idea and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Together, we can laugh them both away. Now, my central lesson for this lifetime seems to be, I seem to be able to sum it up in not taking myself too seriously. And I invite all of you during this meditation to whatever thoughts come up, unless they're entirely in alignment with what I am, that we've just read and that I will read again before we start the meditation, that you give it an inner giggle or an inner laugh.
Or a smile.
Or a smile. Because we all have, actually there's been a study done on this, we have on average 60,000 different thoughts every single day. Now, the real bad news is that 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we had the day before.
And there's another, there's a saying from Byron Katie that I really like, which is, There are no new stressful thoughts. They're all recycled. So we have our patterns of thinking, and what we're asking you to do is, let them pop into your mind. And as Paul was saying, give them an inner smile or a giggle or whatever, and then we'll discuss it after the 20 minutes.
And let me just finish this introduction by reading once again. What am I? I am God's son, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of his love. In me is his creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am the holy home of God himself. I am the heaven where his love resides. I am his holy sinlessness itself, for in my purity abides his own. That'd be your cue, Teresa.
No.
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 18 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to share, raise your hand, or you can use the electronic hand at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Who'd like to share? Paul.
Well, for me, it was a surprising meditation to intentionally just watch my thoughts go by, and I had quite a good time, actually. I had quite a few thoughts that went by that, first of all, was everybody's quiet and we're on mute, and Jane and I are talking with each other a little bit. And we're saying, and then I thought, wait a minute, this is a quiet meditation. We're not supposed to be talking. So let's not move our lips. And then I had various thoughts of different things that happened this week that I could have handled better, and I had to laugh at those because some of them I didn't handle very well at all. And then I had to laugh at that. So I think, we tend to think that, Jim and I discussed this before we started. We tend to think that this piece about this tiny mad idea, which the Son of God, remember not to laugh, is talking about, the initial separation from God. And I think it is. But I think that it's also talking about all the times, all the thoughts that we have that aren't in alignment with what's true about us or about other people.
Which is why we chose to read the "What Am I" first, because every time, we're busy criticizing ourselves
or others,
right? We're taking a step into separation, and we're forgetting what we are,
what other people are.
right?
So,
Anyway, we should stop talking off.
We do.
Yeah.
So we'll mute now.
Right.
Thank you. Who'd like to share? Teresa.
There we are. I'm going to just do that one. Okay. Well, thank you, Jane and Paul. That was synchronicity is what it was, because I woke up this morning and I had a very similar, it wasn't that lesson, but it was a similar lesson popping through my mind, but it wasn't that came through my mind first. What came through my mind was images of a particular time many, 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 many years ago. And I thought, my goodness, why am I thinking of these thoughts now? There was not a lot of energy around those images, but I was looking at my life at that time as though it was a little movie screen, and there was 3 particular shots that I was focusing on, and I was able to sort of think, wow, never thought about how that would have affected my mum. So it was going way back. And then I started to sink into the feeling of the ego, forgetting to laugh. I wouldn't have ever laughed at that situation anyway. But then the lesson came up, not exactly the same lesson as you said, but not far from it. It was remembering that we are all holy sons of God, all of us. So at that moment, I suddenly saw the whole picture, my brother, my mom, myself, holy sons of God, and everything about the actual image, the circumstance at that time. A big smile came across my face because I realized it was just an image. And it wasn't. It left me. So thank you for that lovely synchronicity. Thanks.
Who'd like to share? Norman, take yourself off mute.
Thank you. No, I wasn't going to say anything because I went to the chiropodist yesterday for the first time, And that thought came into my head, and I thought, nobody's interested in your feet, Norman. Don't be daft. But then I thought, well, whenever Paul shared, I might as well. And the thought that came into my head is, I don't know why you're embarrassed about your feet. You know, because in the time when Jesus was walking the earth, they all washed each other's feet. You know, it was a ritual sort of a thing. You know, it was a nice thing to do for people. And, you know, so what are you getting upset about? Because I was so independent. You know, I said, nobody wanted to bother with me to look after themselves. And of course, when you get to 78, it's a bit awkward sometimes bending down to get them seen to. And it was just so easy for the little girl that was doing it. And she sort of got my life story out immediately. She was happy about clipping away and doing what she had to do. And it's strange that, you know, I thought, oh no, that's it, you know, that's too private, too personal, you know. But now I'm going to go back the next time if I had any issues at all. So it was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. I think that's a brilliant example too of you know, these things that slip by that we just let them slip by, and yet they do have an impact on us emotionally. And you know, they're asking for attention and asking for compassion, and I think that's a beautiful story of how our minds work. Yeah.
Who'd like to share? Vivian, take yourself off mute.
Hello, it was really interesting in that when we became quiet, I actually thought of a friend of mine who died over a year ago, but his birthday would have been this Friday. I haven't thought of this person for ages. The sadness was, I went to his funeral last year, and it was the unhappiest funeral I've ever been to, in the sense that the whole family, including his daughters, said what a difficult man he was and how disappointed they were and how he treated them in their lives. And that whole thing of the lesson, the reading, was that, you know, I'm a son of God and healed, complete and whole. I sent to him in spirit. So it was, well, isn't that just lovely that I hadn't been thinking about that, but of course it's absolutely true for him, wherever he is. I've inclined to think of him as a rather unhappy soul in spirit, because yes, it was the saddest funeral I'd ever been to. And it was just lovely to sort of have that opportunity to send him truth in that way. Thank you.
Who'd like to share? Sue, take yourself off mute, and then after that, Dennis.
Hi. Yeah, I thought that was really fun, actually. I usually sit and judge myself and condemn myself for all the stupid thoughts. And this time, I didn't always remember to laugh at them. But when I did, I felt this bubble of, I don't know, a sort of a silliness, but a joyful silliness. And it's still with me. And I just feel really, really happy. And thank you. It was good.
I just want to say it suits you, Sue.
Thank you, Paul.
Dennis, would you like to share?
Just two things. About 20 years ago, and I'd been meditating for 30 years, my daughter started meditating and she said, Dad, I sit down and I'm quiet. And she said, every thought I've ever thought of, and even more so, come into my mind. And I said, tell me about it. And then the other thing is, quite a few years ago, I gave someone an aloe vera plant, and she sent me a stack of paperwork research into aloe vera and all sorts of things. And she found that research into AIDS had found that laughter creates antibodies. Thank you.
Who'd like to share? Norman, would you like to share? Take it.
Thanks very much, Dennis. I can't stop laughing now. Thank you.
Well, that's really helpful, Dennis. I think I'm going to laugh more. I could use more antibodies. Yes. Who'd like to share?
I have something I'd like to share with you all. I think when we began, I said I've been studying meditation for a long time, or trying to meditate for a long time. My parents were into transcendental meditation with Maharishi Yogi back in the 60s, and that was my first introduction to the mantra, all that stuff. And I just never seemed to be able to get my mind to shut up. And until I went to a workshop, I forget what the workshop was about, but I remember this piece of it. We're going to do a meditation, and I explained to the gentleman, I can't get my mind to shut up, or I fall asleep. That's the other thing I do during meditations, which I think is pretty healthy for me. But he said, and I'll never forget this, and I've tried it too. He said, focus on the one that's listening and don't engage. And the more I focused on the witness, the listener, the quieter it actually got in my mind. And I just wanted to share that with all of you. Maybe that can be helpful in future meditations.
Thank you, Paul. Who'd like to share? Lottie, take yourself off mute.
I found myself going right back to the beginning, the tiny mad idea. Okay, well, that happened before I was born. It wasn't my fault. That was my first joke. Just going through all the things that had been happening around me, or going right back to the beginning again. It was all ego thoughts popping in. So the laughter is about the ego. Laugh him out of court, and then we're all fine. Thank you.
Okay.
One of the I don't know who mentioned this, but I really like it. We use it sometimes. The ego is an acronym for edging God out.
Who'd like to share? Dennis, take yourself off mute.
Many moons ago, I read an interesting book from the Nine. and someone said, "Does God laugh?" And the answer back was yes. And they said, "What happens then?" He said, "The whole universe shines."
Okay, we have time for one more share. Who'd like to share? Jim, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thanks, Dan. And thank you, Paul and Jane. Yeah, Paul, you just mentioned about looking at, focusing on the one who's listening, if you're sounding a mantra, for example. And I found that laugh that you instructed us in, the laughing at the thoughts, was the doorway to freedom, because it had the same effect. By laughing at the thought, I was then reminded of who I truly am, the awareness of that thought and the awareness of the laughter. And it was a transformation from believing a thought into freedom from it, simply by remembering to laugh. So I'll have to remember to laugh more often.
I think we could all stand laughing more often.
Yes.
And, I'll just leave you with, angels fly because they take themselves lightly. There you go.
I just wanted to jump in there and say that the more I practice the course, the more I practice forgiveness and meditate, the less serious I become. I just walk through my day and I laugh at everything. Everything's changed, and I'm sure lots of you have experienced that as well. It's just a wonderful, wonderful way to live in this world but not be part of it. Okay, we come to the end of our meditation, and thank you all for being here. And Jane and Paul, thank you so much for joining today. And take yourself off mute. Share your love.
Thank you, Jane and Paul. Thank you.
Jane and Paul.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.